Welcome back. Rosemary DeLorenzo Dickens is here. She is the board president of Third. Yesterday they had their meeting that we brought you. It ran the open meeting anyway, a little over 3 hours. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
And we're both trying to stay warm here. It's cold in this building. So a lot of stuff was discussed, and there were a few policy issues that you folks went over, and I know you have kind of a list. One of the things you want to talk about is that you're going to be having an orientation coming up in the Cypress Room.
Right.
And I don't have a date on that yet. You did.
Yes,
you
I
just
do.
filled it in.
I filled
okay.
it in. We had an orientation in November in the evening, and it was very successful. So we decided that we're going to alternate day and evening. So in January we had orientation and in the morning, and it was really good. We had 32 people. So in February, it's going to be on the 16th, 15th, the day after Thanksgiving, and the 15th. And because we're renovating the boardroom, we were trying to decide where to put it, and it hadn't been, and there are no clubhouses available in the evening. Right. So we're going to have it at the community center at 6 p.m. in the Cypress Room.
Okay.
So, we looked all over the place, so we had to go through and, reschedule, figure out where to put them. Supposedly, we've now moved docent tours. We have them on Saturdays also, because, the people who are moving in either are retiring later, so they're still working, or maybe they just want to still work, which is fun. So we're thinking of having it on Saturday also, but that would mean we would have to have a staff person on. But we do have an MOD program where, so maybe that person could do it. We don't want to incur overtime, so to speak.
Right.
And I don't want the board to have to run it because it has AV and stuff like that. But we're thinking about Saturday. But this month it's in the evening at 6 o'clock on the 15th.
Okay, and also we need to mention you have a new board director that was appointed, right?
No, we had a new board director. We appointed two new board directors, and unfortunately, one of them contacted Kim, our former wonderful admin, and said that he withdrew his application and we didn't know about it.
Okay.
So he was appointed, he doesn't want to be appointed. So we have had a notice in the paper and we're accepting applications. We had it open-ended because it's not like, we get 1 million applications. So, but now we have 2 or 3 good candidates. So, but we have to give notice about closing. So we're going to close applications on November 9th, that would be a long time, February 9th at noon, which gives the directors time to review the applications, and then we'll have a special meeting on the 14th at 12:30, and it'll be an open meeting where the candidates come up and talk about themselves.
Okay.
And so that's what it's scheduled at now. What we have to do is confirm with the candidates that they're available then, so that we're pretty fair. But we want to do it as soon as possible after we close the opportunity for people to get an application, and we had to give people time. We couldn't say, okay, we're closing them tomorrow. That isn't fair. So we have to get it in the paper and do all that.
All right, very good. Now, as I mentioned, there were a few policy things you went over yesterday, and one of the biggest ones that had the most discussion really was the policy concerning caregivers, right?
Yeah, it is very nice that you called it a discussion, because from the board's point of view, it wasn't really a discussion. But what we did is we're really trying to work close with security to make sure that we are not abusing the rules, the community. And we found that probably 2 of the biggest area is people who are caregivers, and sometimes leasing violations. And a lot of it happens in the 3-story buildings. And I don't think that these things weren't going on before. I think it's because we have a really good director of security who is working very diligently with compliance, so these things are coming forward. And they only come forward, of course, is when there's a problem.
Right.
So what we did is we have a committee, it's called a residency committee, and our next meeting is Tuesday. It's an ad hoc committee, so everybody is welcome to come. And we actually have somebody sitting on the committee who is a resident of a 3-story building. And we try to figure out what is our present caretaker policy and what do we have to do. So the basic thing is when people fill out a form to have a caretaker, they always have had in the past a note from the doctor that says how long they need care for. And that helps, because if we keep that up to date, we have some people who the caretaker was only for 6 months and they've been here for 3 years.
Right.
And then we have some people who really shouldn't be caretakers. We have to really follow up on criminal records, et cetera. So the biggest issue was a question which was brought up as, what if somebody's taking care of a neighbor? Well, we're not involved in that. We're involved in our people coming in from the outside. So I think a good amount of objection was, well, why do I have to get my family member, if I use a family member, fingerprinted and all this other stuff? So that's why the policy says exceptions will happen.
Okay.
So if somebody needs a caregiver and they say, I want it to be my niece or whatever, and provided somebody doesn't have a criminal record, we don't ask anything else from that.
Okay.
Well, somebody, unfortunately, was in the audience yesterday who was talking about all of these things that really weren't true. We aren't gouging the community. We're not charging anybody anything. We're not breaking any laws, because he was saying it broke a HIPAA law, which certainly isn't true, because we're not asking the doctor to tell us what is wrong with a person. We just want a doctor to supply a note that says, they need a caretaker for 6 months or a year or whatever amount of time. So after much discussion, and we discussed it last month, so it has to go through 30 days. And people have the opportunity to come to talk about it for 30 days. It passed the way it is. And but with anything, if we pass something and we find out that it's too constrictive, or maybe it isn't helping the way we wanted it to help, the whole purpose is to try to keep people out of the community who shouldn't be here, or who are pretending to be caretakers. Or I know somebody who has whose spouse died and they still have the caretaker there. So we have to just try to tighten things up. But it was really unfortunate that the resident who was there thought it was her right to be rather abusive to the board, because we are volunteers and we care very much. So I hope nothing like that happens again. But because I hated to call security and and whatever, but security did show up. I guess they saw it on television, so they were there. But hopefully we can move forward together as teams.
All right. Yeah, and as you mentioned, these are, and it's been mentioned in the past many times. This is a business meeting. It is a board meeting. There's a certain decorum there, and you certainly welcome people's opinions within the time frame that they have, and getting up to the podium to speak mainly. And you mentioned this a couple times yesterday, even with board members, that make sure to turn on your mic so the people watching will be able to hear you. So people sometimes speaking out of turn from the audience, no matter who it is, even if they're complimenting you folks,
well,
you can't you can't hear it on TV, so it doesn't help. You just hear kind of mumbling or rumbling in the background or something.
So the next thing that we are going over is leasing, and we only have certain things that we could do with a lease, because we are not, we don't own the property, but things built in to make sure that a person who leases doesn't have a criminal record, et cetera, et cetera. So we have been discussing that. We're still working on it, because we work with staff. I mean, and even our attorney has to review everything. But on Tuesday, at exactly 1 o'clock, we're having this is a resident it's a subcommittee, and we're discussing leasing. So if anyone wants to attend, they're welcome.
All right, very good. Now, also mentioned yesterday, of course, and we've been mentioning it too, that once the boardroom starts its refurbishment, which is, I think, scheduled on Friday.
Yeah, I think Friday is the last day.
Yeah. We will be broadcasting where the meetings will be coming from City Hall. We'll be broadcasting that. It's actually going to be on what we kind of deem an alternative channel that you can watch
I think actually yesterday, because I was talking about that at the meeting, I said it won't be on our regular channel, and they came back and said that it would be, that it's going to be, I know nothing about TV technology, brought from there to here, and it will be on the usual channel.
Okay, yeah.
So,
it's not going to be on 31, even though it's going to be broadcast from there. But we want to make sure people know that As Brad said, it could be 2 or 3 months, not quite sure on
Correct.
that yet. The board meetings will go on as normal, but the city, since they were over here for a
Right.
while, they kind of traded out, and you folks will be over there.
Right, and we were told that there shouldn't be any difficulty with parking.
Yeah, there's a
If-
lot of parking
yeah,
over there.
and
Yeah.
the only thing is that after the open session, we will leave City Hall and we'll come back here for the closed session.
Okay.
Because the closed session is where sometimes we have a hearing,
Right.
and we don't want any of the residents to have to go to City Hall and say, where,
Okay.
I don't know where I'm supposed to go.
Okay.
You know, so if any resident wants is scheduled to come to meet with us, it'll come back here in the afternoon. All of the boards have agreed that that's what we're going to do.
Okay, and it'll be in whatever meeting
We
room
usually
is
meet in the
available.
Willow Room, so I think
Okay.
they block the Willow Room for the 3 boards.
Okay, very good. And yeah, we mentioned that. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, the thing is that Brad said it yesterday, but I always think it's important that the decals for your car
Right.
should have been in the mail yesterday, so you should be expecting them soon. So if you don't get them soon,
Right.
call Ken. No,
Yeah, call me.
no.
Yes.
I mean, hopefully we'll get them soon.
Yeah.
That is what they said, and I think that's
And those are the, by the way, he wanted to mention, those aren't those RFID. We're talking about
The seven-
the
the
7 that
seven.
covers the 6,
Right.
meaning 2017.
Right.
Yeah.
My husband said, because I was telling him that yesterday, he said, yeah, they're going to send the 7. I guess he's
Yeah.
the one who puts it on the car, so
Yeah.
I don't do that. But yeah, that's about it. We did go last Tuesday, which is why the meeting was delayed, to learn more about earthquakes and
Right.
the possibility of earthquakes. And it still looks favorable for this community, you know, the different lines, but I am not a scientist. And Steve Parsons, who is on our disaster preparedness, is going to put together an article based on all of the things that we learned and different websites that you can go to for our next issue of The Breeze.
All right.
Okay,
Very
so
good.
that's it.
Thank you for coming in. We appreciate it. Stay warm.
Thanks, you too.
Yeah, but it's beautiful out today, isn't it?
Yeah,
Absolutely
yeah. I just
beautiful.
have my gloves on, that's all right.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back.